Meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. And first order on the agenda is public comment. I do not see anyone from the public on the call, so we'll move on to item number 2, which is review and approve I'll cross out January and write in February minutes. So can I get a motion to approve the February minutes, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the February minutes.
All right, Sean made a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Donovan, second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, so those passed unanimously. We can move on to the update on the surveys of the residents and businesses. So, Betsy forwarded over to all of us the results from the survey, as well as the results from the open-ended question, and we can start discussing it. Sean, were you able to put anything together on a spreadsheet on this?
No, not yet. No.
Okay, all right.
I barely had time to.
I just wanted to know. I didn't know if I was going to be talking over myself. So does anyone have any questions, or how would we best review this survey? I mean, I know that Sean's going to break it apart for maybe our next meeting and sort of put it out on a graph or a spreadsheet, but is there anything
I want to
go ahead.
Reiterate, I don't want to use this canned report, just as is. I feel like we could, take some, key takeaways out of this instead of just dumping this out to the town to look at. And then also I want to look through, I want to see what I could tease out of the the open-ended responses to try to bucket some findings out of that.
So as a matter of going through this as a group for tonight, would it be more interesting to go through the questions or go through some of the open-ended answers to sort of see what people's thoughts were? We can do it either way, but if Sean's going to break this down, maybe we table the discussion on each individual question.
Well,
I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say we could run through, the questions and just, as a group speak to, what, dumps out at us, and then, I can use, take action on that and use that input.
So you want me to read through the questions and sort of like break down the top couple answers?
Well, yeah. So yeah, for for Q1, how often do you eat out or get takeout? So, it looks like it looks to me like breakfast isn't really that large of a demand for that, and then looks like dinner once a week is one of the bright spots, I guess.
I guess
go ahead.
It's funny how that breakfast is the least, yet everybody wants to have a bagel shop and a cafe in town. So it's I don't know if the questions are getting answered exactly. If breakfast takeout is going to the bagel shop and getting bagels and taking them home, I think also.
I actually think that the breakfast was pretty strong. It was 24% once a week. I feel like that is pretty strong. It's not the 5 or more times per week. I think some of the choices.
Oh, sorry. I was
just
I was referencing the one for in Woodbridge. So I guess.
Yeah, which is why people want something in Woodbridge, because they're going out of town multiple times.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, good point. So look to see what the what the point difference is between those two columns, and then you could, I guess, somewhat gauge demand.
The difference between breakfast in general and breakfast in Woodbridge is simply availability and options.
Yeah.
Right. No, Betsy, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Debbie, you're 100% right. So basically, you've got, for breakfast once a week, people are eating out almost 25% of the time, but in Woodbridge, they're only taking out breakfast
Right.
8.6% of the time.
Right,
And-
so
and it's sort of-
that's showing us that the Chips and the Bellas and the Linas and are getting our business.
Mm-hmm.
Agree. So when we break this down into a graph, maybe it's the best. It'll be good to sort of lay these out, saying how often do people do these, follow these certain habits, and yet how often are they taking them, taking their habits and taking them out of town as opposed to spending their money in town.
Right. I think it's easiest to see with the dinner between the once a weekers, which I think the once a week to me is the column that's most interesting. And the dinner once a week in town versus out of town, it just shows our lack of options, and that downtown New Haven, Milford, Hampden, et cetera, are worth the 15-minute ride.
Agree.
All right. So I mean, I think that's a good. We could, again, like you said, we'll display what the the 16-point swing for breakfast, the what 12 and a half spread for the lunch, and then 27% points difference for dinner. So yeah, that's notable.
Yeah, and I think again, the once a week and once a month columns are most representative of diners' habits, I guess you could say.
Right.
5 or more times a week, that's really pushing it, even for people who might still be going to an office workplace. Getting lunch out 5 days a week isn't always representative of regular habits.
Yeah, and to this discussion, I guess when you move along the survey, now that we've done this one time, you start to look and say, maybe the question should have been geared. How often do you frequent these businesses in the business district? And then how often do you frequent these businesses outside of the business district? So we can see what people's habits are and how much business we're not capturing. I guess it's sort of a learning curve, doing this one time and then going back and saying, oh, wow, these metrics may be better weighed against each other versus just knowing what people's habits are in general.
Right.
But if we know that, yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
Well, in a way, we did capture it because it's the delta between those two numbers. But I think you're right. As a first go, I think we chose questions and phrased them. Listen, you only learn as you go. So if we do this a year from now, we'll save all of our own feedback, let alone everybody else's, and be able to tailor this a little more, drill it down a little more.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take question number 3 and you piece it together with question number 4, you start to say, all right, so we asked these questions in number 3 about how often do you frequent these businesses in the district. And then it says, 4, which 5 businesses would you most likely patronize if they were open? So, I mean, you can sort of cross-reference the two and, come up with a round sort of guideline as to what people really want in town. And I'm guessing if these things aren't in town, they're going somewhere else to buy them. Cleo, you're muted.
I find it surprising that so many people would frequent a grocery store when there's a grocery store right the next block over in New Haven.
On all our borders have a market, right?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people talk to me about this, and most people I talk to really like Stop and Shop.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said most people that I talk to really dislike Stop and Shop.
Right, but
It's got Big Y on the other border.
yeah.
And then I hear people, don't like the prices of Big Y. It's the comparison shop, and it says Big Y is more expensive, so you can't win with either one of them. That's a lot of personal feedback that I get from a lot of folks.
Yeah, it's just something like inherently a problem with survey taking, because it would be unrealistic to expect that another grocery store would open in the Woodbridge Business District. You probably would not be able to find a developer willing to open another grocery store.
Right. We don't have the traffic to justify a lot of that.
Right.
Even with the trade, there's some, quite a few Trader Joe's comments. But if they're not opening in Hamden yet, they're not opening in here yet.
Mm.
We have to find.
Or somewhere like that first before they would come here.
Yeah.
All right, so if we go ahead.
Yeah, I see a few people and people who I've spoken to. They seem like they were looking for something in the center of town. I don't even know if that's even possible. Right?
Center of town, meaning where town hall is.
By the fire station over there, versus the business district.
A very popular question.
Yeah. I mean, with the way the zoning is now, no, it's not even possible.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Betsy, how does it work with the senior center and them having their restaurant, cafeteria kind of place?
So that was a victim of timing, really. There was a small cafe that opened in the senior center, and it just happened to be the vendor who was also doing lunches for the seniors back when people could eat together in person. And she wanted to open a 5 days a week cafe that outside of lunch hours also did muffins, coffee, salads, that type of thing. And she opened just before the senior center went into construction for the new bathroom. And programming stopped in the building because of construction, and it just, she wasn't able to get off the ground because people weren't in the building.
How did that get approval? Did that have to go through a zoning appeal or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Variance?
I don't think so. I think it went through the Board of Selectmen, but I don't think that it went. I'd have to double check on that because it was several years
On the
ago.
zoning board of appeals, it didn't come to us.
Yeah, I don't think that it went through zoning, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
Right.
And of course, that's something that we, could look at again after COVID. But I don't know, it's a little difficult, right? Because it's in the basement, it's not on the street, but there's already commercial equipment in the building. But it is kind of logistically, bless you, logistically difficult, just because you don't just see it while you're driving by.
Right, and I guess that's the part of the bigger puzzle is if it was approved to operate out of the center building, why couldn't it be approved to operate out of another location? But that's a big discussion. That's probably not only for EDC to tackle one day.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
way
whole
above our
can
pay
of
grade.
worms. Yeah, that's a whole can of worms question, but one that
And years ago,
That's a good question to have an answer to.
years ago, when there was serious discussion about putting a coffee shop in the firehouse, several of the businesses that serve coffee and light lunches were very upset and felt like it was competition directly from the town. So there's that to keep in mind as well. Of course, that was years ago. Things could be different, but there was, this is before my time, but I'm told there was a feeling of kind of unfair competition because it was coming from the town. It wasn't just coming from, another business owner.
Right. No, it makes sense.
So that's something that needs to be, the sensitivity to that needs to be kept in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of pieces to that puzzle.
Back to the survey. Assets to be developed. I guess that's question 5. It seems like we've been sort of on point with a lot of the way that question number 5 was answered. It seems like the majority of people are looking for sidewalks, commuter parking, signage in town. You know, what all the common conveniences that you would want in the center of town, basically. A lot of it's and sidewalk seems to be very predominantly highlighted in that column.
Yeah, that's definitely.
And we've talked about it. You know, electric vehicle parking, certainly a thing that, there's a lot of Teslas in town. I don't know if any of you have been in pickup or drop off line at school, but there's a lot of Teslas in town. So, EV parking is certainly a thing that can be talked about, and EV parking can be talked about with business owners, because there may be some business owners, there's not a lot of parking in town, but it could be discussed with the owners of Southern Plaza or folks in Research Park, or even, at 245 Amity Road. Who's to say you couldn't put two, EV charging stations in that parking lot? But, they're private. It's not, yeah, go ahead.
So a Tesla charger, is that the same as a regular charger, like the one by the library in the town hall, or it has to be Tesla special branded?
I am not an EV.
I think that the Tesla chargers charge a Tesla car faster, if I'm not mistaken. I think that a Tesla car can use a non-Tesla charger, but it takes longer. But I'm not sure if a non-Tesla car can use a Tesla charger.
Gotcha.
Is there any town parking? Like, is there anything down in? No, there's not. Okay, so anything that would be EV centric would have to be something where we would look for unit owners that want, or unit owners. We would look for. It's been a long day at work. We'd be looking for commercial business owners that want to put charging stations on their own property. It wouldn't be something that the town would benefit from, but the town people would benefit from.
Right, and the property owner may as well. There may be revenue involved.
Oh, I would think there would be. Yeah, I mean, so if it's something that we thought would be a viable thing, we could reach out to a couple of the different charging companies and reach out to business owners and say, let's have a meeting. It may be beneficial to you and the town to have these stations. Those people that have bigger parking lots, why not approach them and see if we can figure something like that out?
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see it at 245 Amity, 2 spots off to the side. I think it would be great. People, while they're having dinner or getting their hair done or something, can charge up.
And these stations show up on maps, so that if you're driving your car and you're not in town and you're not familiar with the area, it shows up on a map for you.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe even at the library.
We do have one at the library.
At the library.
I think it's out of order right now, but there is one at
It
the
was
library.
just fixed.
Jeremy, you should see if the Katz's Plaza would be interested, because that's right off the highway. People can charge up, grab a sandwich, and then get back on the road. That'd be great.
I mean, that
Maybe worthwhile for
actually almost functions like a commuter lot without being officially a commuter lot.
it definitely functions as a commuter lot.
They don't like it, though. They don't like that, though.
They were approached a couple years ago, and I've noticed Tesla has just installed, it's not functioning yet. They've just installed one in the Stop and Shop Plaza in Hamden, and they were scouting for locations off of Route 15.
Oh.
They have a couple at the Big Y, at the Big Y parking lot. So anyways, it's food for thought. It could be something that we maybe spark the conversation with some of these providers, and we put together a meeting where we invite, commercial property owners to come and listen, and maybe they can benefit from it.
Do we have a commercial property owners meeting on the calendar? I know we talked about posting another one. Do we have that or not?
We do not.
So maybe whenever that is scheduled, there could be a phone call or two about charging stations prior to that meeting, whenever that meeting ends up being.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it would be a great item for the agenda. All right, so moving down this list. Question number 6 was leisure activities. We all know that we have a very outdoorsy sort of hiking, biking, community, but other things that stood out, I guess, were concerts and shows. We have bowling in town already. Cooking, which I don't know how, gardening, which we know we have a lot of in town. I mean, there's some things that we have in concert venues is a thing that people mentioned a bunch of times. Raising pets. We started the dog park a couple of years ago. I don't know. Did anyone take anything out of that question more than we sort of knew already within our own, community? So if we move on from there, if you're not already a business owner, what is your level of interest in starting your own business in town? Most people weren't interested, but there's a 15% of the group, or 14.86% of the group is interested enough to learn more. And then there's 2% are planning to start a business in town. Maybe in time it may be a good idea for us to have some sort of a meeting where we can open it up to people that are thinking about opening a business in town and invite those folks to another forum.
Did you hear
Yeah,
from
I mean,
anybody, Betsy, in particular? Did anyone share their name or their interest?
Well, unfortunately, without looking at the data, I would guess that about half of that 15% didn't provide any contact information. So the ones that I did have contact information for, I sent BCC'd all of them and sent them the guide to starting a business in town and asked them to reach out to me if they had any questions or concerns. And I have not heard back from anybody. But so unfortunately, there was a good chunk that did not leave contact information.
I mean, after yeah, go ahead, Sean. I thought you were talking. After looking at all this, do you think it would be a good idea to maybe have a quarterly forum, a different topic, a couple times a year where we address some of these things? Where we bring folks that maybe want more information about business to the table. It's just basically us offering tools and information to those who want to do business in town.
I don't know if there's enough
Just a
interest.
thought.
No, I don't know. I think it's great. I don't know if there's enough interest to do quarterly, but if we're going to have maybe an annual property owners meeting, maybe there's an annual startup kickoff.
Yeah, I meant something different each quarter.
Yeah. Oh, I think excellent. Yeah.
Just think us communicating and reaching out to the community as often as we can and as a constructive way as we can is probably going to do us a lot of justice, and people will start coming to us with questions. I don't think people even know where to go sometimes, and I think if we continue that kind of outreach, we'll start getting people that feel more comfortable coming to us to ask questions prior to going to the next step or whatever it may be. So beyond the survey, Sean, you have anything else you want to bring up or point out from the survey?
But that was definitely helpful to just run through that for 20 minutes or so and get the get your guys' thoughts on what jumped out. So that's good.
All right, so then we'll move on. Goals and priorities for 2021. So I know Cleo has to leave. Cleo, do you want to start this off and say a couple of things? Because I know you think about this all the
It's
time.
okay. I'm going to log in.
Okay.
I have to attend at the same time. So I'll stick around. I'm just going to log into this other meeting on my phone.
Right,
So before we change topics, I just want to touch quickly on the business survey. And I've only received 30 odd responses. So very low response rate. I'm going to try pushing it in the next few emails that go out to the business community, but I don't have a lot of faith that we're going to get a great response rate. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay. Oh, now that you brought that up, do we want to go over some of these open-ended answers? They're pretty interesting. Or do you want everyone just have a chance to read them because there's about 60 of them? I think there is exactly 60 of them.
I think
they're of interest. I find them more of interest because they're actual individual people's point of view and direct question or point. And they vary, but there's a lot of stuff there.
What
We
time?
may be, there's 73 of them, and if we were to go through it now, we would easily get carried away and we take the time. But we perhaps maybe skim through them on our own, and then take like a handful, like your top 3 or 5, things that jump out at you, and you can email them to Betsy, and then we can collect it that way. And then Betsy, we can then add that to the final analysis.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of them could get categorized into a few buckets. And
So if you guys have like a little bit of time to read through them, and are people open to that? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So you're saying read through them before the next meeting, and then put them together in buckets and hash them out.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying do like a whole crazy. Just read through them, and what a couple of things that jump out at you. Make some bullets and drop it in an email.
no, I think that's great. And I also love the fact that people who have the opportunity to use their voice, they'll just sound off on anything. And I think that's great, because if this is your vehicle to be heard, you're going to be heard. So I think that if there's certain comments that need to get forwarded to other departments or shared with other commissions, perhaps that we should help facilitate that, because this was a great outreach effort, mostly about business, but there's a few others here that are interesting.
Completely agree. So moving on to the goals and priorities, I guess. We talked about this a bit at the last meeting. The one thing that I mentioned that I thought would be a real asset for the businesses in town would be starting a business association with regular meetings. It doesn't have to be every month. Maybe it is every month. Maybe it's every 2 months, or just something so people can get together and feel like they have a support group around them. So that's one of the things that I think is, a goal of mine, and I think that the local businesses would appreciate it. One of the other things we started last year, and we mentioned at the last meeting, was finalizing our tax abatement, our tax abatement recommendation, I guess, to pass along, so that we can try to spur some new development, new business, new business, basically, in town. And I sort of open up to everyone else to what you think we should be working on and working towards in 2021.
So I remember
Yeah,
quite a while ago, there was that business breakfast, and I think some years were better attended than others. I don't know if that's something you want to bring back. It was early in the morning, with coffee, and there was a speaker on marketing or some type of topic. And then for a while there was the once a year, twice a year happy hour, which I know we had pre-COVID, a really good one at Woodbridge Social, and I feel like we had one at Saloon maybe. But do you think business owners would prefer something like that, or more like a networking Chamber of Commerce style group of meetings?
I think all of the above. I think, a business association that incorporates networking, which would be those gatherings at the Woodbridge Social and wherever else. Part of it would be an educational piece, like we did in the past, where we all gathered at the JCC, and we had there was a marketing company, I think, at one point that did a presentation. And I also think that a regular group that's not a social networking, but one that just gets together so they can speak their minds to us or whoever that body is that sort of, sits on that business association, so that they can voice their opinions. I think it's very I don't think that the businesses know where to talk, where to voice their frustrations or whatnot. I mean, if anything, they know that they can go to Betsy, and it all falls on her lap, and then she's got to figure out what to do with it. But if they know that there's a group like ourselves or a committee like ourselves, they can go to and say, this is our concern, or this is what our thoughts are. We want to do X, Y, Z. I think it would be very valuable. And I think it's just a matter of establishing the communication so people know where to go to voice their opinions and their thoughts and concerns.
And Betsy, how do you think this would fit in with those, the restaurant group you have or the health and wellness group that you have? You're juggling all these groups.
So the way I'm thinking of it is it would kind of swallow those smaller groups. And if the group as a whole decided that they also wanted to have subgroups, then they could do that. So what I've seen work in other towns is, a business association, and then the association itself has different groups. Like maybe there's an event planning group, so that they have events in their business district, or they have a membership group where they're trying to recruit other businesses to join and understand the value of something like this. And a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking with Patrick Mann, who runs the Connecticut Main Street Association. And I mentioned that we were thinking about doing this, and he said that what he would suggest, especially in a small town with a small business district, is thinking about it slightly differently, that we could go the business association route, or we could go kind of like a downtown group where you've got people who have a financial stake in it because their business is there or they own commercial property there, but also just residents who want to see more vibrant downtown, who might have volunteer time or funding to donate or ideas, but they don't necessarily have a business in town, but they care deeply about the issue. And I thought that was a really interesting way to look at it, because if you look at the survey, it's not all business people taking the survey, but clearly people in town really care about what the business district looks like. And if we went that route, that would give those people a seat at the table as well.
Yeah, and then maybe there's sort of that intermediary between the residents and the businesses, where some residents are part of this group where they become the glue that makes us all fit together. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've kind of thought about it in terms of, it's very, very easy and kind of enticing to complain about things. But if you have a seat at the table and you feel empowered to say, oh, I don't like this, but now I'm part of this group that can change it, I think that's really powerful.
So what would be, if we want to make this happen, what are the steps that we should take to put it in motion? I'm tired of surveys. I don't think we want to survey everyone to ask who wants to be a part of it, but do we establish something and say this is what we're doing, or do we find?
Yeah, I feel like it needs to be separate from the EDC, but I feel like if anyone's going to start it, it should be the EDC to kind of maybe get it, kind of get its sea legs and then say, go forth.
Do we need to find some? Do we need to pinpoint a couple of business owners that may want to be the people that sort of sit on this business association? I mean, what I'm saying? I think there's got to be someone other than us that would be the not governing body, but you know what I mean? People that are going to lead the
people
group.
to make sure it doesn't fall apart as soon as you walk away.
Is this something that the Chamber of Commerce would support, or you think this is something the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's Valley or Greater New Haven, would not necessarily impede, but I guess not support, but for lack of a better term?
So the chambers are financially driven. So their members all pay, I don't know what they're paying, but I assume it's based on business size. So I think if the chamber thought they were going to get funding from Woodbridge businesses to start a Woodbridge chamber, they'd be all for it. But I just don't think that they have the resources to support something like this if there's not any financial incentive.
No, not to create a Woodbridge chamber, although there used to be a Bethany Woodbridge chamber that kind of got swallowed up by Greater New Haven Chamber. But for those businesses who might be paying the hundreds of dollars, or it's estimated to be in the Greater New Haven Chamber, I just don't know if they would be willing to join something else. And is it for a cost? Is it $10 or $100, or what keeps the train moving down the tracks?
Yeah, I think it would need to be the group itself deciding, is it fee-based and what's the fee look like? And I kind of feel like they should be the ones to decide the structure.
So should we put together a focus group or some sort of something to get the feedback of those folks in the business district who would be, this is for them. So.
Right.
I think you have to see if they want it. I just don't know if they would support it.
Yeah, I think I have about 15 names from the survey takers who said they were interested, but none said they would be interested in running it.
But maybe they don't run it, but we can gather them together and maybe something sparks one of their interests as we start to talk about it and they say, all right, maybe I'll get behind this. I don't know.
Some of the people that
no one wants to
come to the separate, some of the people who have come to those sector meetings that we had.
The smaller groups?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of them would be interested as well. Yeah.
So would it be, it's so hard with COVID because I would say, let's all get together and then we can ask people if they want to be part of this. But should we put together a business district Zoom networking happy hour? We haven't done it. We could do it. I'm sure people will get on the call and we can have a little agenda saying, here's our thoughts and what are your thoughts? Let's set something up for April and just,
I almost feel like we would need to pose, because it's such an open-ended question. Do you want to be part of a business association? What does that mean? Am I paying something? I feel like people, if we show them 2 or 3 avenues this could go down, I don't think we would be limiting them to what it would go, but it would at least kind of give them a jumping off point to think about it. So I also think trying to start something during the pandemic, it's probably pretty overwhelming to people. I can't imagine anyone is wanting to take on something of this size.
Right. So I guess what I thought was maybe doing it this way, which is very, I don't know, you're not being very aggressive about it. You're just saying, let's get together and have a networking Zoom. We haven't gotten together in over a year. How about we get together at the business district and we just talk, and we as an EDC have a very short agenda, and that agenda is, how's everything going? Would you be interested in a business association where we just discuss it and then take everyone's temperature on it? We don't have to point any fingers or assign anyone any positions, but just see what people say. Maybe everyone's like, nah, we don't want that. Or maybe everyone's.
I agree. I would float it in one of the networking type of meetings that we just discussed a few minutes ago, and see if they are interested and they want it. Because I think if we announce it, or not we, but if it's announced and launched, we don't know if there's buy-in. But if there's a quarterly meeting or happy hour networking something, and that's one of the topics for discussion, then we can see.
Does that have to be public to the town, Betsy, if we were to do something on virtual meeting of some sort for something like this? Is it?
Well, if it's a
recorded?
meeting of EDC, then yes. But if it's just, maybe 1 or 2 of you inviting business owners in, then I don't think so. But so those sort of mini networking groups have kind of fallen apart. People are just too distracted and stressed out and busy to log on to networking meetings right now. So I kind of I can email them, but I'm not, seeing them on a regular basis to discuss something like this. So I don't really have that avenue, but do you think people would come to a virtual happy hour?
Or if maybe,
So why not?
maybe lunch, call it a lunch break or something, because, if the business people are here more 9 to 5, not that they're here, but if that's their work day, they might prefer to break up their work day, Jeremy? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fine for, doing it at any point in time. I can make time in my day, but I want people to be able to get on it. Otherwise, there's really no point. So it's a matter of accessibility and us communicating it to groups. It's hard. We want to do stuff, but the pandemic is just continually sort of stopping us from moving forward in certain ways.
The other thing is, maybe it just goes on the back burner until things feel a little more safe.
Yeah, that's obviously an option. I don't know. We can table it to the next meeting, or it's early, in the year. It's probably going to snow again.
Yeah, but I do agree with you, Jeremy. I think we need to at least maintain some sort of regular communication or contact with business owners. Let them know we're there and we're thinking of them, and figure a way to try to get them together or get their take on things, and just see where their heads at, where like you say, to get their voice, because it could help with retention as well. If there are any concerns we could address, stuff like that. I think we just need to figure a way to just keep in touch.
I'm completely up for trying. So, if we all think that it may be worth a shot, then maybe we have Betsy. I can put together sort of a letter from EDC to the business owners that Betsy can send out to her networking list and just say, we at EDC are thinking of you. We hope you were able to get some benefit out of Woodbridge Books. We'd love to be able to see you in person again. We want to set up a virtual meeting to gather ourselves together to talk about how the pandemic has hurt or helped, or how it's changed your business, and what we as EDC can do to help in some of the things that are on our mind that may further, business in town. That kind of thing. It could be worth the shot to just see, and then all it is a half an hour of us getting on a call with people if they decide that they want to jump on it. If we think it's a good idea, I'll put something together, and I don't mind.
I think it's worth a try, and if you don't get any participants, or just like a handful, then you could just say, what, we didn't have any interest, and we'll reschedule it down the road. And you could even frame it out as something like we're doing this virtually now, but vaccines are coming out, and hopefully we could do something in person down the road soon.
Do you think we should give it a shot, Betsy?
Sure, it's worth a try. Yeah.
So let's try it. No date set or anything like that, but let's just see if we get any feedback from people, and then if we get 5 to 10 businesses that want to jump on a call, then it's worthwhile for us to, talk to them, I think. Okay, cool.
I would actually suggest setting a date. When I initiated the arts group, I did it at a time that really didn't work for most people, but I heard from at least 5 artists saying, I'm very interested. I can't come, but I'm very interested. So that at least let me know that it was worth pursuing. So if we just kind of pick a random date and time and people are interested, we'll at least hear from them, hopefully. They can't make it, but that they want to learn more.
So when's our next meeting? The 15th of April?
Sounds right.
Is that the third Wednesday? Yeah, it's the third Thursday, sorry, of April.
April 8th.
April 8th. So that's the second. Okay. I don't think we're going to have this before then. We could try, but I don't think it'll happen. But maybe we set up for, a week or two after our next meeting where we have sent this out, gotten feedback, and we can actually talk about how we're going to, some of the things we'll talk about at the meeting. If that, I don't know. You have any suggestions on times, or is a lunchtime, like Cleo suggested, a better time, or is like a 4:30, 5 o'clock where people can just, work's done, they can jump on their computer and jump on the call? Maybe sound either way. One's better.
I think midday might be easier. I know for me, when the day is done, I'm rushing home to be on toddler duty, and I think people with young kids can't really do things at the end of the day. But in the middle of the day, I've got half an hour to myself that I could do something.
Do you think business
other
is
option
a
is-
little slow? Do you think business is a little slow around that time in the afternoon, so they'll have the opportunity to jump on? Is that what you're thinking?
Not the restaurant folks.
Yeah, I cannot figure out a good time that works for restaurant folks. They are sleeping in the morning, busy at lunch, busy at dinner, busy at nighttime. They're just really, really hard to reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, picking a time is near impossible. I think you just have to throw one out there, and like you said, if people are interested but can't make that time, maybe there's a second session. Maybe there's an 8 in the morning and a 6 p.m. maybe people, or a noon and a 7 or something. I don't know.
We always had good turnouts to those breakfasts. I remember the one JCC one we had where there were like 30, 40 people in the room, and there was bagels and everything else. It's one of the media marketing companies that presented. But I'm
that was my event.
I'm up at 5 in the morning and
Something just I remembered something. Mondays are typically down days for restaurants, so that's probably, like, if you're gonna get them Monday, would be your best shot.
good point. Maybe we're still planning for a Monday. I don't know, Monday at 4 o'clock or something like that, just at the tail end of the day. I don't know what.
I would say I'd say Monday like 3, like mid afternoon, and then
Just try it, Jeremy. We can't
Yeah, no, yeah, it's fine. I mean,
just try it.
That's a really good point, Sean, because like the couple of hair salons, they're usually closed on Mondays. So maybe that allows the
Monday's
hair
like the
salon-
unofficial weekend of retail in restaurants.
Yeah.
so if we're gonna try for a Monday, do you want to try for the Monday before our meeting and try to really see if we can make this happen April 5th? Or do you want to push this further out? Is that too optimistic?
I
would say the Monday after your meeting, so you have a little more time to kind of put your heads together about what it would look like.
When's Easter?
Maybe.
I think it's early this year.
I don't know.
Yeah, Easter's April 4th.
We're past Easter. So maybe the 12th or the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
You want to shoot for a month from now, or do you want to shoot for a little bit after a month from now, just so we have a little bit? Let's shoot for the 19th. That way, when we have our meeting on the 8th, we'll have at least another 10 days to maybe get a couple more businesses or whatever, and we'll see where we are at that point.
Yeah.
I guess
So
then
is this a business forum online that kind of replicates those in-person happy hour networking things that has a small agenda, or is this specific to this association idea?
well, as I'm assuming you've all been on trying to be on some of these networking things online when there's a million people. Like, unless you have breakout rooms, it's impossible to individually talk to each other unless you're privately chatting on the side. So I think we need to have some sort of structure to it because it's going to be hard. No two people can really talk over another two people in that setting. So we'd have to have some sort of a short agenda with our own. I think we have to lead the conversation saying, here's what we thought, here's what we've been doing, and we really value your input because we want to help you do business. And we want to hear your thoughts, good or bad. And just let people talk. I'm sure it'll spark some conversation.
So not to throw a wrench in everything, but here I go. What if you've had the commercial property owner forum first? Because many of the commercial property owners are in regular communication with their tenants. And if during the commercial property forum you mentioned the Tesla idea and the business association idea, they could kind of trickle it down to their tenants. And then we could follow up with the tenants and everybody else. So it's something that they will have heard a couple times. Maybe it'll have a little time to percolate in their minds.
That's a great idea.
My only thought on that is we have to make sure that we have the key property owners on the call, like a Pete Parenti, that owns 214 Amity, that doesn't really want to get on the call, and some other folks that own other big, I don't know if a Bruce Schaefer who's got a lot of tenants, and we got to find the right people that can really give us feedback, Faisal, and others that that actually have, not people that have vacant space, but people that have tenants that can actually, but I agree. I mean, they're a great source of information. I don't know. I think we owe it to both. Or do we want to bring them all together? Because it's all part of this business association at the end of the day.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. I was thinking all together.
Property owners, business owners,
Yeah.
even folks that live in the area.
Even though a lot of property owners rather be in the background, they rather not.
Well, I guess thinking. So what I guess what I don't want is this to be. I don't want it to be contentious. Where we've got I don't want to open up to the whole town. I guess where.
Yeah.
I just want it to be constructive.
But if there's items, if it's such a brief agenda,
That's true.
that I don't think it would be a big deal for the property owners and the business owners to be on the same virtual room, because there aren't too many topics to discuss. And a lot of the infrastructure items or this possible association item really pertain to both.
I guess when I say property owners, in my mind, I'm thinking commercial property owners.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not
To,
residents.
Absolutely. But to Betsy's point about this business association, those people that live in the business district may have a lot of input to something like this, where it could help us move agendas or whatever forward. So I don't know how you parse who's going to be at the meeting, I guess.
I don't know. I like the idea of business owners and property owners together. I don't necessarily know about residents in the business district or this occasion. I mean, that's why we had the survey, and there's other avenues for them to share their comments and concerns.
Well, this might be a nice opportunity also to report out the survey results.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
Definitely a good idea. That would be a good agenda item.
Yeah, I do see the point. We want it to be productive and informative versus, not combative or, so that's the risk we run when we start including.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess if it's a business association, then it's business owners and
Businesses.
property owners in the business district, and we can start there and then see where it goes from there and let's leave it there. So at least when we're in a meeting with everyone, they feel like can feel comfortable to speak also.
Right, right. Because residents always have the opportunity to do public comment, written or verbal via Zoom or in person again one day. There's the survey. There's plenty of ways to voice their concern, because otherwise we'll end up in circles. For every resident who wants more, there's a resident who wants less or stays the same, and we won't get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, our task is to help people do business and grow the brand list in town, and
Right.
we might as well listen to those people first. Okay. So should I I'll put together something and I'll send it to you and you can cross out everything on it, rewrite it. And so date wise, again, what should we shoot for? The 19th, is that cool with everyone?
As long as that gives you enough time to advertise, yeah.
Sean, do you think that gives you enough time to do what you wanted to do with the survey?
Sure. I don't have time, but I'll make time.
Now there's a deadline.
Yeah.
We can make this the 26th. Doesn't really matter much.
I'm okay with that.
So 3 o'clock on the 19th?
Yeah.
Make this happen. And so Betsy, the email would go out to property owners, and do we have a specific business? All the businesses, or most of the businesses, will just send an email out to them as well.
Yeah, I've got my business e-newsletter list, which has more than 400 emails on it. So it's not, it's sizable, but it might be 5 people from one business and nobody from the neighboring business.
Okay.
But
Well, between that and the newsletter and a Facebook post and a couple of social media shares, or as if any of us are at a business or over the next couple of weeks, maybe we mention it, but it
yeah,
doesn't pay to do a mailing or anything like that. It's not worth the money.
I agree. All right, good. Anything else regarding this topic of goals and priorities for 2021?
No,
No
I
one
think
was
hearing from
passive
the
and-
businesses is the first way to go. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. So Woodbridge Bucks update. Betsy, you want to do a little update on the Woodbridge Bucks?
yeah. So we gave out the $25 vouchers, and I've had 2 come back so far from businesses that turned them in. They were thrilled. I'm
Who were
keeping
they?
in
Can you say?
Paolo and the Red Barn.
Nice.
So I'm, trying to just keep in touch with the businesses. Probably, I don't want to bombard them, but every 2 to 3 weeks, I'm just going to remind them that the program exists, send them a photo of the bucks so that they or their staff are not taken off guard if they get one of these. And I've also got contact information for the recipients, so I can remind them that they need to be spent before June 1.
Before June 1. Okay.
Great.
I mean, that's nice too, because when we reach out for things like a Woodbridge Bucks reminder and there's a meeting in April, it just legitimizes the content that you're sending out, and hopefully the open rates and the response rates increase.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Listen, the more you can touch everyone with like little bits and pieces of what we're trying to do, the better. At least they know that we're trying. Yeah, go ahead.
So it was interesting with the Bucks that what we, and it's kind of like with the survey, you throw your best dart and you see what it hits. but we thought that it would take a while for this Bucks promo to ramp up. And in fact, it was the opposite, where it had a really strong start and then
Yeah.
kind of petered out at the end. If I had to guess, I would say just about every week 4 commenter won, maybe, because there were few at the end. Such lovely things were said about the businesses, but it was, I mean, for me, not what I was expecting. I thought it would ramp up rather than decrease over time.
So I'm still off social media, but I wonder if it's a social media thing, just because certain people don't get posts. And I know we put in the Woodbridge Town News and things like that, but I don't know that, who everyone that saw it or how interactive people are on social media and that kind of thing. But it seemed like the people that, and I've been off of it for so long, it's very annoying to me, because I'm still blocked. But did it seem like it was people that are very active on social media that were the people that put in their responses or their comments?
So what I saw was very interesting to me, because I saw people commenting who, I know because they're active in town. But then I saw comments from people that I'd never heard of before. So for me, it was a very interesting mix. I mean, they may be people that you all know, but they were names that I had never seen before, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah, and some people were one and done, and some people commented every single week, and some people didn't really comment their own submission, but replied on someone else's. So it was a real mix, and I know for the places that I shared it to, even there were a lot of, some likes and kudos that I think people like knowing that this is happening. And maybe you didn't comment because $25 isn't a big deal for you, or maybe $25 isn't worth it for you to post something publicly. But I think you're happy that it was going on and like to see some town spirit and support of local businesses. So whether you posted it or not, I feel like it had a greater effect than just the X number of comments.
That's great. Here's a thought. Could we gather those comments together anonymously and put together a media piece, a poster with all these lovely comments of all the businesses in town and saying Woodbridge Bucks 2020, just a good feel thing where it's
but
just
it could
always
be
nice.
It could be a nice thank you post where some of the comments are collected and it's, whatever, JR or whatever, CN, so it just, I mean, although it's public, everyone can see what everyone else wrote. It would be nice to kind of, put a little group together.
Can we get that in the town newsletter by any chance?
We compile them all on the back page saying thank you, Woodbridge residents, and have a bunch of different comments or something.
Yeah, I think the newsletter isn't going to dedicate space to that, but the Woodbridge Town News might, like a recap press release. They're always looking for content.
That's what I meant, not the town news, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can.
I really like the idea of using the quotes.
I think it'll be a nice, good feeling thing where we just say, sponsored by EDC, and that's it. Just a little thing on the bottom, but all of it's just about Woodbridge Bucks with the logo and then all these quotes all around it.
Well, I would love a photo of a transaction at one of the businesses. So the business owner gets recognized, a resident or a non-resident, or whoever's redeeming the bucks, a small press release with a photo just to put an exclamation point on the end of the project, I think would really be nice.
Well, if we have
I only sent a newsletter because I thought the paper might charge less money for that, but you think paper would do it?
No, press release with a photo is free if they print it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for the paper.
It's the best way to advertise.
I mean, the other thing that I would like to continue somehow is doing something about, love your local, love your business, something like that in February. It's such a slow time for retail. You're probably not going to have the budget for something like this next year, but some other sort of creative thing to encourage people to shop local, particularly in February when things are slow.
Mhm.
I definitely think it'd be nice if we could figure out some way to highlight these quotes. It would be very nice. I don't know. Maybe we can talk offline about it so we can try to move it forward, because I don't want to wait 2 months or 3 months before we put something together. But okay, moving right along. Mika's not here, so we have no Board of Selectmen liaison report. And lastly, it would be a staff report. I know, Betsy, you've said a lot. Do you have anything else that you want to report?
We just have a couple of things I want to make you guys aware of. The town is working on a crowdfunding campaign for the bike route. So this would be an on-road route created by signs. I'm sure you've seen the green signs that say bike route in other towns. And it would create a 5-mile loop connecting some of the major destinations in the center of town. So the high school, the library, the Fitzgerald Tract, Beecher Road School, the corner of the country club, Pease Place Playground, and then it would come back up along Center. And along the route, there would be a few bike racks that would be installed. We'd put one at the elementary school, at Fitzgerald, and at Pease Place. And there would also be these safety features called solar-powered speed awareness signs. They're becoming pretty popular in some towns, and just like it says, they're solar powered, so there's no electricity being used, and it's an electronic sign that gets attached to a speed limit sign, and it shows you how fast you're going compared to how fast you're supposed to be going. So theoretically, it slows down traffic, and there would be a few of those along the bike route. So we've got until the end of April to raise $7,500, and we're already at $6,000. And if no matter what we raise, Sustainable CT will match us. So if we reach our goal, we'll have $15,000. If we get a little less than that, they'll still match us, and we'll just have to cut something out of the project. So that's going really well. We're having an Earth Day event on the 24th of April. It's going to be kind of like a clean out your closet type day. The Friends of the Library are accepting book donations. Recreation will be accepting sports equipment that they can use at some of their programs. There'll be a truck to recycle your mattress, an electronics recycling truck, and another truck. Oh, Goodwill is coming as well. So really, kind of spring cleaning fever. And I'm working with the library to start an acoustic concert series on Thursday evenings. So be much lower key than the recreation concerts that happen in July. So if you guys know any musicians willing to play for peanuts, please send them my way. And really the idea is, just trying to get people together outside in a safe way. And any musicians are probably looking for an audience.
Will that be in the field next to the police station?
No, so instead of on the green, it'll be on the library lawn. So it's a little more intimate because I'm expecting it's going to be a smaller crowd. So kind of near the corner of Meeting House and Newton, but more on the Meeting House side.
Gotcha.
Oh, and if you guys haven't yet, there's a very short survey on the town website about how to improve the Grove. And the Grove is the area between the library and the old firehouse. So there's an opportunity I have to apply for a grant to improve public spaces. So there's a really short series of questions about what sort of things you might be interested in seeing over there. So hoping that the grant will be successful, but we'll see.
Do we have any business news? Anything new or any?
There is a new-ish barber in town. He is in the same spot as the tattoo shop in the plaza with Subway. And he was actually mentioned in Woodbridge Bucks, which is how I learned about him. And it was a very interesting conversation. Someone said, "Oh, I really like him," and someone else said, "Oh, where's this?" So it was interesting. A resident was actually learning about a new business through Woodbridge Books. And there's also a screenwriter who opened an office in town. So I'm hoping to visit both of them later this month to do profiles on them for the Woodbridge Town News in April. So that's it from my end. I think that's everything.
We're at the end of the agenda. Does anyone have any other comments?
I was just thinking back to the Woodbridge Bucks and the comments. Would it be too much to take a page out in the local paper and just kind of base those comments on that page, or would that cost too much?
Well, no, I mean, Debbie, you said we could just do that as a press release, right?
Yeah, if it's as a press release, then it's free if they print it. It would be nice if there's a photo to go along with it, because I think if we just send the logo, then they may look at that like an ad. But if there was a photo of either a happy customer with a shopping bag or a transaction at a register, then I think they would print the whole press release with the photo at no charge.
I mean,
And I have a photo. There's no person in it, but it's got a thing and Woodbridge Bucks, so that might be useful. But Donovan, I think you were thinking of like an ad, right?
Not an ad. Just something in the paper. I guess I was thinking anything in the paper is an ad, but if it's free, that's even better. This is a matter of getting a photo.
Do we have any budget left?
I think there's about, oh, thank you for reminding me. I think there's about maybe $1,500, $1,000 left. Something I wanted to do at your last meeting, one of the goals you discussed was marketing. And you talked both about marketing the town as a place to do business, but also marketing local businesses. So if you guys remember this brochure pre-COVID, it's got the map inside here has the trails and also a list of dining, shopping, and recreation businesses. I am able to get 1,000 copies printed for $121. So if you guys are interested, for $121, I could get this brochure distributed to all of the businesses listed in the brochure. That would be relatively easy way to do some cheap marketing. So if you're at the Red Barn and you pick up the brochure, you say, "Oh, I didn't realize there was a Thai restaurant in town."
What would it cost for us to use some of the money towards an ad in the back of the Woodbridge Town News? Do you know what those run? I know that the realtors take up the back page all the time, but.
Do you mean on the town newsletter?
Well, not Beth's letter, but the Woodbridge Bethany newspaper.
That
I'd
might
have
be
to check
booked
what
out.
their rates are.
That might be booked out on a contract.
Oh, the back page? I'm sure that's a lot of money.
I would like to reserve some money in case we do something when is the year over? July 1 or June 1?
June 30th.
June 30th. So I'd like to reserve some money in case there is another promotion we want to do that ties in for the summer or something else, especially as we're all coming out of COVID. We may want to do some kind of small town, big heart, similar to Woodbridge Bucks, but a little bit of a different spin, and allocate money for a summer promotion rather than spend it on newspaper advertising, given that press releases can be done for free.
Let's see, with this bike path, bike route thing, is there opportunity for sponsorship with like mile markers and things along those lines?
No, really the signs will be the standard signs that you see. So the green rectangles that say bike route, and then the yellow diamonds that have an image of a cyclist on there to warn drivers of cars on the road. There's something else coming up that's sort of mission related for you guys. Actually, two things. One is I've been talking with Coachman Square about a concert series on their lawn. One thing I've been thinking about is, how do you do events in the business district to try and draw a crowd that would then benefit the businesses? And they've got such a big, lovely lawn. I asked if they'd be willing to host concerts, and they said yes. So we need to nail down dates and times and the season for that. So there may be some opportunity there to do something. And then I'm also working on a series of events that would happen on Saturdays in the town center. And one of them I'm hoping will be a sort of a maker's fair or a craft and artisan fair. So that, sort of ties into your mission as well.
Cool. Last thought on this, how to get these quotes out. It just keeps going through my head. What if we utilize the email to the town, like just an email, and we put together like a nice JPEG poster image with a bunch of different comments and the logo and everything, and it just goes out to town. Thank you for participating in Woodbridge Bucks, and it's just a big image that would be emailed to everybody in town. Costs us nothing other than a few of us designing it. I'm just trying to think. I think we should sort of,
Definitely.
I don't know, be proud of it a little bit and just show everyone what we did, and the comments make people feel good. I think we need it.
I like the newspaper aspect, and I think maybe a thank you Facebook post. I don't know what Betsy's bandwidth is for the town emails, because I know you don't like to overdo it and inundate people. We don't want people to unsubscribe.
That's a nice thing.
Yeah, I usually only do those once a month, but I'm wondering.
I mean, I don't think twice a month is offensive, but in any stretch. But
No, but I'd want there to also be like, not that this isn't useful, but like, like news you can use type stuff
right.
in it. I mean, the other thing, I don't know that this quite accomplishes what you're thinking about is making not a certificate, but something less formal than a certificate to give to the businesses that were mentioned in the comments with the quote. Maybe they could put it in their windows. But a lot of businesses' windows are already pretty
Cluttered, yeah.
I didn't want to say cluttered, but cluttered.
Visually demanding.
All right, well, I'll continue to think about it. If anyone has any ideas, definitely, email Betsy and CC me or whatever. So it's on the books, or on the record. But all right, if there's no other comments, I don't think, take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
No.
Thanks, everyone.
All in favor? All right, good night, everyone. It's good to see you guys.
Good night.
Good night,
Take care,
everybody.
folks.
Thank you. Here.